I'm Chris, and we are on day 11 of our walk through scriptures together. And our scriptures today are Genesis 24, Matthew 9, 14 through 38, and Proverbs 1, 20 through 33. In Proverbs today, it starts with wisdom shouting in the streets, crying out in the public square, calling to all the crowds. Well, how frustrating that must be to wisdom, to God, to be calling out in such obvious ways, trying to get the attention of his people, then and now, and to be ignored by so many. I'm definitely not political, nor is this video, but as I read today, I couldn't help thinking as appropriate as this was to all the people in the Old Testament times, the image of wisdom crying out in our cities, public squares, shouting in the streets, trying to get our attention is just as applicable today as it was thousands of years ago. There are so many voices shouting in the streets right now, aren't there? How in the world can we discern which is the voice of wisdom? Whose voice is crying out with the words of God? Thankfully for us, we have a kind and loving God who wants us to hear his voice. We just need to listen. Come and listen to my counsel. I'll share my heart with you and make you wise, it says in Proverbs 1:23. I want to share God's heart, don't you? I want to be wise with God's wisdom so that I can discern the truth from falsehoods, right from wrong, good from evil in our crazy and confusing world. Unfortunately for me, it's the listening part that I don't always get. I read a sign the other day that reminded me of a Stephen Covey quote. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Well, isn't that the problem with our listening to God too? If we set aside the quiet time needed to hear the voice of God, aren't we usually listening for the answer to prayer that we want to receive, or listening for guidance that we want to hear and already have maybe decided on a path, or listening as we line up more prayer requests in our mind? We listen to news stories and we take one side or another, but do we listen and then ask ourselves to ask God what he wants us to know about? Do we allow wisdom to influence our thoughts and actions, or do we allow people, news people, celebrities, politicians, even our friends, to influence what we think and what we do? God might very well be shouting in the streets, but he also might be whispering in your heart. Are you listening? If all people would just listen to God, live in wisdom, act according to his guidance, can you imagine what our churches, our cities, our country would be like, our world? All who listen to me will live in peace, untroubled by fear of harm, it says in Proverbs 1:33. And that's a promise of God, my friends. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be.